Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome back down to the Whiskey Nook. And today I want to talk to you about an Irish whiskey. I'll admit, it's been too long since I've had a bottle of Irish whiskey to share with you guys. So I'm pretty excited because I think heading into the holidays, it's a good idea to know or to have a decent Irish on your shelf. So is this decent? Well, this is Writer's Tears Double Oak. Coming back, I'll give you a little bit of information about the distillery. I don't know lots, but I got a couple of thoughts. And then we'll nose, we'll sip, and we'll taste the whiskey. If you have it, please sip along. If not, maybe try to find a little bit of Irish so we can talk about Writer's Tears Double Oak when we come back.
3, 4.
Thanks for staying with me. As I said, really disappointing that I haven't had more Irish lately. But, I read a year ago, 2019, Writer's Tears Double Oak made it on that top 10 list from Whisky Advocate. You know, a great magazine with people I really look up to in terms of opinion and insight. And when they say, hey, this is a good bottle, I tend to make it on the short list. But it was always either not around or too expensive. Finally went on a good price and I was able to grab it. So a little bit about the whiskey and then maybe about the distillery. We'll see. So the whiskey itself, is nicely released at 46%. I also believe, I thought it said on here that it was with that 46, that it was non-chill filtered and not colored, but I don't see it on here. And now I doubt myself. But what does the double oak mean? And it says right on here, aged in American and French oak. So the American oak is that ex-bourbon casking, and the French oak is French oak, but it's ex-cognac casking. I don't know the relative age amounts. I imagine it spent much more time in ex-bourbon, and then smaller amounts of it or smaller time in that French oak ex-cognac. Released at 46%. It is the Welsh Whiskey Company that puts this out. Let's talk whiskey, and then maybe I'll talk a bit about the Welsh Whiskey Company, because a lot of times people come in and I think they just want to know, should I buy that? Should I not? So we'll talk whiskey first. Writer's Tears Double Oak. This is a light fruit sweet nose. This has, that fruit cocktail type style. So there's that light pear, light maraschino cherry, like that really kind of expressive but light fruit. And then with a little more time, you start to get into some light toffees and vanilla. And back into that fruit. A little bit of... I'm really close to where I started. Honey, cut fruit pear, a little bit of that light maraschino cherry. And it really reminds me a bit of a light fruit cocktail, I think. In fact, it's so fruity, I just attracted a fruit fly. Let's see what it tastes like. Cheers. That's a good palate. Still having that really nice light malt a little bit, honeyed caramels, but the fruit is still there. Nice backbone of gentle spice. Can't say it's spicy. It's really more an interplay of caramels and sugars and fruit notes for me. Oak doesn't come up until the finish for me. Maybe on the third sip. It almost got richer there, a little darker, a little bit of tannins, some wood now, but it's a fresh wood, which is odd for me. And a little bit of spicing now coming in. Now it's perking up on my tongue. It took a little while for the spice to go, hey, we're here. I think that's probably coming from the French oak. You know, the fruiting, I'm imagining, yeah, there's a wine note to it for sure. Okay, it feels a bit more like a white wine to me. It's got to be coming from that, you know, the ex-cognac barrels, but there's some definite spicing and some oak to balance what is a really nice light caramel coating sweet dram. I like it. You know, I went pretty quick into sipping the whiskey because I've heard that, you know, I take my time getting there, but I really should share a little bit about the Irish whiskey itself, and then also a little bit about the Walsh Distillery. I don't know enough. But for Irish, you know, you read this and it talks about being a blend of single malt and pot still whiskey. And if you're new to Irish, a lot of people, I shouldn't say it like that. If you're new to Irish, you might be unclear the difference between pot still and single malt. You know, single malt, of course, single, one distillery. Malt, it's 100% malted barley. Pot still. Well, this certainly is made, and I think probably all of it is made in a pot still. It's not talking about the pot still. I believe what I have read says that it's really a nod way back to the taxman that you could call it a pot still whiskey if it had a portion of unmalted or green barley in it. And so a pot still whiskey is a mix of malted and unmalted barley. Now, in this case, I know it's been made in a pot still. So, you know, carefully released where they get rid of the heads and get that nice middle and get rid of the tails. Like it's been made in a pot still, but the way I read it is it doesn't reference necessarily the still, but rather that composition of malted and unmalted barley. And as we talk, and because I'm talking about it, I do get a little stronger barley note to it the longer I spend time. That's pretty interesting. Of course, being Irish, I shouldn't say of course, most Irish, I believe this is triple distilled, which often creates a fairly light fruit style whiskey. And when I've poured Irish in blinds, or not blinds, in tastings to friends, which clearly I am not doing during COVID times, it often, especially non-whiskey drinkers, they are drawn to Irish whiskey. Yeah, this is a nice whiskey. And I will say, it has opened up. I'm not deep in the bottle, but I poured a little bit and waited and poured a little bit. And, you know, it's been a few weeks, so I've had a few sips out of this. It is significantly better now. I see that out of a lot of bottles. Sorry for that. This is one that I really noticed. When I had it up front, it had kind of an alcohol acetone note that did put me off. And thankfully, I really don't get it. There is a slight tannic bitterness in the finish still, and that's got to knock it down. However, you know, Whisky Advocate gives this 92 points, which is a phenomenal score. I'm lower than that, but it's easily 4.25 stars for me, and certainly one of the best Irish I've had this year. And if you can find this double oak, I think it'd be a great holiday dram. Wide appeal, nice notes, and really a good interplay between some caramel toffee and some nice fruiting. I like it. Right, I was going to talk about the distillery. I don't really know a ton about the distillery, but I know that Bernard and Rosemary Walsh, last name, hence the name Walsh Distillery, are behind Writer's Tears and The Irishman. I do know, and that's really from Mark Gillespie and his fantastic podcast, that I guess a while back they had partnered with an Italian firm. That name's not going to come to me in this moment, but they had made together their own distillery. Is it now called Royal Oak? Something like that. And it was like the largest manually run distillery, and there was quite a bit of fanfare, and it was really cool that they had collaborated, decided to do that. Now I believe they've parted. Well, I know they have separated, and they're doing their own thing, but they're still somehow together. But Bernard and Rosemary Walsh and their group, I imagine they have supporters, still own the rights to Writer's Tears and The Irishman. I will say, the liquid, the distillate behind the Royal Oak Distillery that they'd worked together on, wouldn't be the liquid in here. I believe Writer's Tears and The Irishman are still sourced I'm not really sure where. If you know that, please put it in the comments. That'd be great. But Rosemary and Bernard Walsh continue to focus on, a premium Irish blend or blends or releases, focusing on some pretty special finishes, as this has a double finish. And so I appreciate any of the Writer's Tears that I've had before. Well, that's my thoughts on Writer's Tears Double Oak. I think it's fantastic Irish. As I said earlier, be a great holiday pick. Thanks for joining me. Hope your week is going well.